Well, that's pretty that's pretty decent, huh? That ain't bad. Look at that. 4.12% Green Day. Fourth straight Green Day in a row, baby. Green Day. Let's go. What is up, everybody? I'm going to trades. We freaking talk fast and don't skip class. I'm going to preface by saying that I'm not a financial advisor or expert. So take what I say with some lemon pepper, please. Let's get into this video. So today, my friends, my family, my fellow Gorilla Gang, we're giving an update on ticker symbol AMC here. And it's been a freaking beautiful ride. In my previous video, I talked about sort of a trend continuation and a beautiful sort of, this is the first time in a minute that we've had not choppy price action, where you can see some sort of trend starting to play out on the stock, similar to when we had that 1450 test and break to bring us the momentum to $77 on AMC. This is actually a really beautiful thing because trend is predictable. You can predict trend. And this is a clear-cut, picture-perfect trend that allows us to see the bullishness and that buyers are starting to step back into the stock. So we're going to go over the Vortex Data, which is essentially just short interest overall in the overall stock, right? And then we're going to go over the short sale volume percentage ratio, which shows you the amount of shorting that is going into the stock in terms of relative volume. And I want to show you the institutional ownership because that has been a pretty fascinating piece. I think it's a good reminder to see that there are some big whales out there buying this thing in the 30s, and then finish off with the technical analysis. So without further ado, baby, let's get into this freaking video. The Vortex Data, what do we have cooking up? 17.93% current short interest of free flow, which comes out to 91.68 million shares. Relatively speaking, shares on loan is 109 million, which comes out to 21.48%. This is based on the FINRA report that recently came out, giving you an idea of how many shorts are actually in the stock compared to the estimate that Vortex has given out. I've said this a million times, right? The shares on loan and the short interest, whenever that gap gets larger, you can expect that the short interest is likely higher than is being projected because these are based on algorithms, and we know the amount of shorting taking place in AMC stock is extremely freaking high. So you've got currently, like I said, 17.93%, small pullback, and I think this is an important thing to be able to mention as well as the average days on loan. Who was actually covering, quote unquote, some of the stock today? 4.74 million shares, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It was some of the newer short positions, right? It was, I would argue, some of the more intelligent shorts, and not these people who bought it up here in the 50s, 60s, whatever, who could be giving back their profits and getting squoze out of the stock like a bunch of silly chickens. So you look at the average days on loan, right? 44 days total. You look back 44 days ago, that's in the 50s and 60s. These guys established short positions, some of these newer ones in the 50s and 60s. Well, if the days on loan went up, but the short interest went down, it's pretty likely that whatever shorts covered positions today were net negative, right? They lost money. Maybe they started shorting it at I don't know. Let's look at the chart. $28. Maybe they started at 30. Maybe they started at 31, 32. And you can see that it's starting to creep up. It's at $37, which means some of these guys maybe lost freaking, 20, 30, 40% of their overall short position. Didn't want to risk a margin call. That's probably what you got rocking in terms of clientele. So a lot of these big boys, the people who have been in this for a long time, the people who are really truly betting against you, they haven't done nothing. And in the grand scheme of things, 4.74 million share difference is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You have monstrous short interest. 85% of the exchange reported data is what Vortex gives us at 17.93%. Utilization is also at 91.77%. You can think of this essentially as how many shares on loan are actually out on loan comparatively to the entire pie, right? So if you've got 91.77 million percent, that comes out to 109 million total. So pretty decently high. Did pull back here a little bit, and we'll be able to show you that here with the line graph. Utilization has dropped down from a maximum value of 94.51% down to about 91.77%, which is why you see that cost to borrow has gone down just a little bit to about 3.96% maximum. Yesterday was in that 10% plus range, and that's because utilization was a little bit higher. It's about scarcity, supply versus demand. How risky is it to hold that short position? How risky is it to hold a share on loan? The higher the utilization goes, the more you can anticipate there's pressure building on these short positions. But remember the overall trend. You see the trend is going up, right? Utilization was at 83% back here on what appears to be July 21st. So it's gone up significantly, right? You got to look at the overall trend, the macroscopic picture, not the microscopic picture on AMC stock on any given day. Short sale volume percentage ratio, this shows us yesterday's overall short volume comparatively and relatively to the overall AMC market volume that ended up rocking on the day. And you see that 50% of that was shorted volume, 34 million shares. And I think an interesting trend, I want to show you this, is what you have rocking at market open the last 4 days. Market open over the last 4 days, you've seen this test in which you have either sellers or shorters that try to push the stock price down right at market open, and it's rejected by buyers that step back into the stock. Remember, half of the volume on AMC yesterday was shorted volume. And you look at the overall price action, I mean, this is pull up the daily candles. We had a freaking solid day. I mean, it ended up being green 6.6%, despite the fact that there was such an imbalance in terms of long positions versus short positions being established in the stock. That's something to be proud of. That means that a lot of apes out there are slapping the ask. They're hitting those high overall ask prices and trying to push the stock price up, which is cool. And it's being projected in the overall technical analysis and in the chart psychology that you're watching on every single given day. So that's a good thing to remember. I also want to show you, lastly, the AMC Institutional Ownership, because this is an important aspect that I think is kind of not talked about a whole lot. And this is 31.35%, or 157 million total institutional shares that are being held by the big whales out there, right? This is coming from a 13, mostly 13F. You can see this down here, 13Ds, 13As, you've got some 13Fs, which is essentially just a financial statement that says, hey, we've established a position or we've sold a position in this overall stock. And you've got a lot of people who have recently filed new positions in AMC. You've got August 17th, which is today, the 16th. A lot of 13Fs have come out, right? You look back on look at all these on the 16th, man. I mean, it's crazy. You've got some people who are buying massive amounts. I mean, 1.82 million shares at 33.44. You've got 110,000 here. You've got 250,000 here. 4.1 million here at 33.45. So a lot of big whales are buying at this $33 level, which to me is another affirmation and confirmation that this is pretty likely near the end of its bear cycle and approaching its next bull cycle, right? Follow money. Follow money. It's important to see where money moves, and money is moving into AMC, and a lot of fucking money is moving into AMC. So we're going to finish this off with a technical analysis and give you the rundown of what is happening here, what you could potentially look at leading into tomorrow. I always tell you guys when I think I'm right, when I'm wrong. I think this was one of the opportunities in which things did end up panning out the way that I thought they would, which is cool, right? It has this upside level of support that is respected. It has more than one test on this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times that it's tested this upside level of support and has rejected off of that level. That is a trend. That is something that is predictable, that shows us that buyers are stepping in at a significant level to push the stock price back up, which I like to see. Now, what did you end up seeing today? This is, by the textbook, a bull trap setup, which means that you typically would see a microscopic, at least on the hourly time frame, sort of pullback since it rejected off of that overall 38.74 level. Now, what I would call this is somewhat of a false breakout, but what's encouraging is that after it got a false breakout over that $37 level of resistance, 37.50-ish zone, it rebounded very nicely. It didn't even come back down to retest that upside level of support. It hung on beautifully, and it's actually trying to retest that here in the after hours right now, down just barely at 0.13% in the after hours, down red. 37.16 close on the day, guys, is really freaking solid. So leading into tomorrow, what could you possibly expect? I think just based on this overall trend that you have playing out right now, you're very likely going to see it continue until it gets this break over $37. So you can think of this essentially as a spring loading. This is a wedge formation in which if you get a break over that $37 level of resistance, you're pretty likely going to zoom right past that into that $40 zone where you've got that next overall level of resistance. Then each psychological $5 barrier after that is the zone to watch for, just based on the way that trend has played out in the past with AMC stock. So what do you think will happen, right? I think it's going to play out pretty much the exact same as it did today. You're going to have a test of this upside level of support. It's happened 5 days in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times it's done this, where it'll try to get pushed down immediately at market open. Buddy, you are just going crazy this evening. You got to calm down. Buddy, what are you doing? You silly goose. You silly freaking chicken. But anyways, I think you're going to get a retest where shorts are going to try to push the price back down immediately at market open. And then it's probably going to get that nice bounce, similar to what we've seen here in the past on this retest of that $37 level of resistance. That's the bull case scenario. Worst case scenario is if it tests this upside level of support a sixth time and rejects, in which case you're trying to see some sort of bounce off of this signified level of support down here at about $33. Do I find that likely? It's less likely, by far more short-term bullish on the stock in the next 1, 2, 3 days than bearish. you better believe it. I'll always come out straight. I'll say it. I've done it a million times. But I think in the short term, the stock might go down a little bit. I'll tell you, I think you got some pretty bright days ahead of you, right? I think you're going to see this break that $37 level of resistance in the near future in the next 1, 2, 3 days, which will bring us to those next round barriers, getting closer and closer and closer day by day, microscopically, to the macroscopic goal, which is the growth of the apes, the making of them and Pep attendees, the attendance of Chicken Church, the drinking of Kraken Kingdom, and that's what I've got for this video. So blah, 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 I know spill, drop a like, comment, friends. Catch you on the next one. Lights, apps. Oh, I don't know why I clapped. Oh, that was kind of a hard tap. That was a weird, all right, whatever. Well, we gave it a shot. Catch you on the next one. Much love and peace.